We're back. What up? It's not April Fool's. The Boiler Express podcast is actually live right now. We're doing it. I mean, it's the two most handsome members of the Boiler Express podcast crew. Your boy DK, yours truly, the most handsome in the Boiler Express podcast crew. And then the oldest of the old, the man that still has Hotmail as an
There it
email
is.
account, the man who's in a nursing home, but we love him anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, Russ Johnson is in his house. What is up, my friend?
Well, you made up for yourself a little bit there because you better hope Kristen, who used to call me one of the two most handsome men in the podcast. But yeah, no, man, it's been a minute. It's been a minute. How you been?
It's been. I was looking at our YouTube earlier today, and it was like last streamed a month ago, and I was like, oh god, like we've really been behind, and some things have happened. I mean, we all have like families and stuff, and sometimes life gets in the way, and that's okay. I think Chris had some twins. That's kind of a big deal. And then, new jobs, new ways of life, but we're here and we're ready to talk Purdue everything. As you can see, the graphics department, which is me here at the Boiler Express podcast, has figured out how to use Canva, and it's spring break for me, so I'm off work for the week, so I spent a lot of time on Canva, and so we have this really cool little I don't know what you call that, a rundown, and up next, I don't know, bottom line, bottom third, I think they call it in the business. And we got some news, Russell. Purdue basketball, we had a little whoopsie there against Houston. It happens. I think we were all pretty okay with this Sweet 16 run. Obviously the goal is a Final Four, but no one really expected this team to go this far. And then we had that last minute oopsie. And I don't know about you, but when they didn't guard the inbounder, and I didn't even see the ball go in the net, and I still haven't watched it. I just saw him open towards the rim, fell to the floor. I collapsed.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can see, I'm one of the fans that's watched the replay like over and over and over again. And you can see exactly what Painter and like Braden had described in the design of the defense on that inbounds is that as soon as Braden cuts to cover that corner three, CJ Cox was then supposed to cut back to the inbounder.
Yeah.
And he kind of like gets lost getting around the screen. And then by the time he recognizes, oh, hey, Braden switched out to the corner, I got to get to the inbounder, he kind of slips. And so you see him in the background. If you watch like the baseline angle, you got to see him in the background, almost out towards the 3-point line, like half falling over as the guy hits the game winner. And that's the image that's going to be seared in my mind for a while until we get the taste of this season out of my mouth is that one. And then maybe two images, that and then the extension of the push off on Brady on the play before. Oh. And then those things kind of overshadow Cam getting fouled on the rebound attempt, where he's literally got the rebound in his hands and the Houston player just like rips his arm off the ball and causes Cam to knock it out of bounds. So
yeah, that blatant push. I mean, those and I hate to blame anything on the referees. However, Houston got some advantages there via the whistle. And that push off. I mean, his arm extended. I mean, it was an obvious push. And I don't know how, as referees on the floor, you don't see that, but they didn't. So,
and we have to maybe go back, but I'm going to go ahead and just make a statement and someone can tell me I'm wrong. I think we set a record this year for offensive fouls, maybe just in the ones TKR committed. So to have a season like that and then them not call an offensive foul in like the biggest moment of our season, that made it taste extra bitter there.
But like I didn't feel like I was upset after the game, but I didn't feel as devastated as I thought I would, just because I'll be honest, like I didn't really expect this team to go all the way to a Sweet 16. Maybe that's just me not setting myself up for heartbreak. I don't know, but I was more than happy that this club made it to a Sweet 16, considering, the year after losing the best player in program history. So I was pretty happy with it. I think they showed a lot of promise. Now Purdue Boilerball on Instagram is teasing who's returning. and who's coming back. So that's kind of fun. I can't wait to see a couple other players say they're coming back, specifically 2 of them. And it's kind of making me nervous. Although, like, I would be shocked. I would be, as the kids say, shooketh if Lawyer and Braden didn't come back. Especially.
Oh, really? I thought you were going Trakoff and Wren and Braden.
Oh, well, 3. Okay, there's 3 of them.
I have bad news for you, especially on like the Braden front.
Don't you?
It's probably going to be a while before you hear an official statement that he's back.
Well, yeah, I know.
Because that's how the draft process works. So if I were you or
I didn't even think about the draft. Jeez.
Yeah, any other fans listening to this that are get nervous about that, try to put it out of your mind. You know, get focused on the Masters or the NFL draft or some other kind of sporting event to get your mind off of it, because it's going to be at least a month or more before we hear Braden's officially back, just because of that draft process. As far as the other pieces go, it's just kind of a, wait and see and trust in paint. I never get too high or too low, or try not to in the off season. It's especially hard considering, another piece of news we have on the basketball program that we'll get to. When something like that happens, it's hard to not get ready to run through a brick wall.
Yeah.
But we just got to trust that, Painter talks about, and he talked about, during the press conferences at the Sweet 16, that he has these conversations before the season, gets out of the way, gets the work out of the way. So he already knows who's considering leaving, who is for sure leaving. He understands what the players want, don't want. That's why the catching thing happened before the off season really got started last year, because he had that conversation, decided, oh, okay, this isn't for us, you're out. So, I trust the work that Painter does and the conversations he has, and that people are being honest with him. And Purdue's just different, man. Like, from not just basketball perspective, football perspective, all sports. You listen to Mockabee. I don't know if you saw his interview during the spring practices where they asked him why he returned to Purdue, or why he stayed at Purdue. It's just Purdue's just different for a lot of people, and we recruit a lot of those type of people. Now, our football program didn't exactly do that, and that's why we're seeing a lot of turnover. Not just because we lost the head coach, but because we started getting, hey, let's get a bunch of SEC guys, let's get a bunch of ballers. That, and then when you get a bunch of transfers like that, and the guys that aren't really sold on Purdue, they're sold on Graham Harrell, they're sold on Ryan Walters, you're going to see turnover when something like that happens. But the fact that Mockabee came in because Purdue was his dream school, he's big into engineering, he walked on not really having had a conversation with Brom before doing that. So like he's married to the school, not a coach. Kind of went a rabbit hole there, but
no, I mean, like I enjoy the way Paint goes about, and I saw somebody tweet like they were worried that Purdue has found out the transfer portal's a thing. He's like, oh no, now that they're actually utilizing the transfer portal, we're in trouble. And then Frank brought up a good point, I think in the group chat earlier, how he was saying, I hope that, because you look at like I forget who tweeted it or posted it, but they had graphics of each team starting 5 and where they were when they came in as freshmen, and Purdue was the only one with all 5 starters originally from Purdue. And I like that. I think that's awesome. And the fact we've made it this far doing so is cool. But as cool as that is, the game today is transfers. And I don't think Paint's going to try and fill every position with the transfer, but like if there's something that needs, filled in with a grad transfer or something like that, which that's what Clough is. He's a grad transfer, correct?
Correct. No, not a grad transfer. He's got 2 years left.
Oh, he's got 2 years. Okay.
1 year, I think, Washington State, 1 year at South Dakota State, and now he's at 1 year at the State University of Indiana, the true State University of Indiana, Purdue.
Yeah, you really confused me with that. I what?
Get on your face.
And then Chris sent something into the group chat today too that was like a kid like originally committed to Ohio State, went to South Carolina, went back to Ohio State, and now he's going back to South Carolina. Like the routes some of these guys take in the portal is bananas. It's so wild. And it's hard to keep up. I don't even try to keep up with the transfer portal. It's just so much in such a little space and so much to follow that I don't even bother even trying to, unless it's like, Purdue is looking at this guy, then I'll take a look at but like other than like Clough's going to be a hard name to remember. Oscar Clough. You couldn't find a more Caucasian name on the streets than Oscar Clough.
I think once we see him on the court, he'll become a household name. I think he'll be
Well, then my phone wants to change it to Cliff, and it's
Yeah, we
just
went from first trying to change
yeah.
FURST to FIRST on our phones, so now we're gonna get Cluff to Cliff. Yeah.
Ugh,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
just
I
can't
think
catch.
that's literally what happened when I texted the group chat when I saw it too. I went to type
Yeah,
Cluff and it typed Cliff.
because
Like
I
Cliff
saw.
Amore? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Dean's here, and
Oh my goodness.
that's one of your brothers, isn't it? Is
What's
that
up, Pops? That is
oh,
my
your
dad.
dad,
It is. It
Mr.
is.
Johnson? It's an honor to meet
Hoosier
you,
by
sir.
birth, born in the back brother. I didn't know he stayed up this late, to be honest.
Wow. Oh my gosh, Mr. Johnson, I'm sorry you had to raise this. I'm sure that was difficult. I somehow like I always make Russ's old jokes. So, but I'm sure your dad is young and spry. Like he's
Exactly.
exactly.
Absolutely.
Good to
Absolutely.
meet you, Mr. John. We always get a new Johnson family member in the podcast at some point. I'm glad my mother hasn't figured it out.
I'm gonna make sure we get even, so I'm gonna reach out and try to find a way to get her in the comments.
Deborah is so I don't. She's probably knitting or something. I don't know. That's very stereotypical old lady, but that's what she does. Just saying. Um, so speaking of the portal, we had a couple decide to leave Purdue and to go on elsewhere.
3.
I missed the third one. I put Colvin and Berg in the graphic. I forgot to put the third.
Okay.
Colvin and Boiler son Roosevelt. Well, going on a little tangent on Twitter. It's been a doozy. It's something I did not expect from Rosie, but that's his son. I respect it. It is what it is. I just find it interesting. And then Will Berg, which I feel like if I gauged Twitter when it was announced Berg was transferring, I don't think there was a whole lot of shock just because with TKR and he probably saw the writing, what do they call it? The writing on the window,
The wall.
the wall,
The
to
writing
the
on the wall.
window, to the wall. Anyway,
Real difficult one. Yeah.
yeah. You know me and sayings and words. I'm good at them. I think he saw the writing on the wall and said, "I'm going to go out to the portal." But how do you feel about those two leaving the program? Is it time to panic? Is it time to just say, "Hey, thank you, appreciate you, get on going"? What you think?
Well, I'll say this: a weekend in the off season is never a time to panic.
Yeah,
I think you're wasting time and energy if you're panicking right now, because it's 7 months before we're going to see him on the court again, and a lot can happen between now and then. But Berg, yeah, he was. I mean, the reason you didn't see many people upset on Twitter, on social media about Berg was because they already didn't like him during the season, right? Like he was one of the more polarizing players on our team. Lost Dylan. Dylan's got a scratch. Okay. But yeah, Berg's one of the more polarizing guys on our team, and a lot of guys didn't want to see him on the court at all. So the fact that he left, it's kind of like, yeah, whatever. Kind of saw this coming.
yeah,
Waddell too, kind of the same way. I think we all were kind of surprised that he stuck around as long as he did, because he's shown talent. He obviously started out with some health issues, some injury issues, and that kind of kept him off the court. And then by then he was, stuffed so far down in the rotation that he really didn't get a chance to see the court again. I know he did a ton of work. He and Berg both got a ton of credit for the stuff they did with the scout team last year to prepare us for that Final Four run. So I appreciate the contributions both of those gentlemen made. I appreciate the contributions of any player that makes, does something to per uniform. But Miles Colvin doesn't make me panic, but it makes me disappointed.
yeah.
Right? Like, it went from angry at first to, especially when I saw his dad kind of take up for it and the way he took up for it, which was kind of by throwing, let's be honest, he was kind of throwing Painter under the bus. That left a nasty taste in my mouth.
Yeah, and if you got like, if I were Miles, you would. It's tough, man, because like Rosie, he's a Boiler legend. Like he's a big deal in the Purdue community. But if I'm Miles, I'm like, man, Dad, listen, like, chill out. Like you can't be doing this, because then like you're projecting to other schools like, hey, like if this happens, we're gonna go public, and all it does is it doesn't help Miles at all in any situation. And I think that's something that Rosie's gonna have to think about. But on the same hand, man, like he's kind of sticking up for his son, and that's respectable words. It's just a weird thing. I didn't expect it when I got onto Twitter the other day and I saw Rosie kind of freaking out. Like I don't know. I didn't expect it at all. So you kind of hate to see it. And there's a really cool thing going. I mean, of course, Roosevelt, Purdue alum, Miles' sister plays volleyball at Purdue, and then Miles is playing ball at Purdue. So it's kind of cool, little family business they had going on here at Purdue. And I don't know, like players can always come back, so you never know. Like that door isn't completely shut until he commits somewhere else. But I don't think that door is going both ways after Rosie kind of going crazy on Twitter.
Yeah, I don't see that happening. I think once Painter, I think that's shown by the catching situation, right? Like,
yeah,
once he senses that you guys don't see eye to eye, he's like, it's probably best for you to go elsewhere.
It's his way or the highway. It's his program. He's been here for 100 years. Like, Payne's
it's that, and like, I think once he sees any kind of waiver, he knows that if it starts then, it's going to come up again.
Yeah,
and it might only get worse from there.
Yep.
So it's kind of like, it's kind of a red flag in a relationship, right? Like, he's a smart dater. As soon as he sees that red flag, he's like, no, you're done. And if he ever sees that name pop up again, he's like, nope. I remember that first conversation. I'm not even letting that start. Not even letting it start.
Not even gonna try that again. Yeah, no. So that's tough. But like Will Berg, I always liked Will Berg. Very like he was always at football games, and I saw him a lot there, which is cool. Like I remember when he was a freshman, was before he even ever took the court. I remember I was standing with Boiler Dowd, and Dowd was like, Will Berg, that kid's gonna be tall, and I was like, he already is. Like he's already 7 foot, and he's
and Dowd was on your shoulders and still couldn't see over him.
Yeah, exactly. Dowd's like, wow, nice to meet you. People I don't think realize how short Dowd is because he's such a big personality.
He's a stocky fella.
And then you meet him and you're like, oh hey, what's going on? I love the Boiled Sports crew there. I like to think we're in like sister podcasts. You know what I mean? Like we
can be brother podcasts. Had to be sister
brother podcasts. Well, it's like sister companies. I don't know, dude. I like to think we're in cahoots with each other on a daily basis. I had a text conversation with Dad today, and it wasn't even about Purdue. It was about the car I've been working on. Anyway, shout out to those guys. So next, but after a few leave, we get a big one that decides he wants to be a Boilermaker. He was a Jackrabbit, which is pretty cool. I mean, Jackrabbit for a mascot, pretty rad. Adam Vinatieri, Jackrabbit alum. Listen, don't tell me where I just pulled that out of.
Wow.
Yeah. Is that not impressive? And someone fact checked me. I may be very wrong. I may be so wrong. He could have gone to North Dakota, not South Dakota. Sometimes you get your Dakotas mixed up, but I'm fairly certain Adam Vinatieri went to South Dakota and was indeed a Jackrabbit.
Who made that decision, by the way? Like, sidetrack. Like, who looked at this area and was like, this is Dakota? And someone was like, no, it's too large. We must split it between North and South.
I don't know. You were there.
Like, not be one Dakota. It is too much land. Even though Montana's like right next door going, what do you mean too much land?
South Montana, North Montana.
Yeah, it'd be like East Montana, West Montana.
I mean, like when you think about it, though, I've always thought Indiana and Ohio were fairly this kind of the same state. So like it could be East Indiana, West Indiana. I don't know. I always feel like Ohio and Indiana. As a guy who goes between both,
I think that's where your bias is at, because I think native Indianans, because I'm not going to say what the word is really supposed to be, but native Indiana citizens would probably take a little bit of offense for you saying we're the same as Ohio.
What's wrong with Ohio? Ohio's just fine.
Well, I mean, they're the home of the Buckeyes, so that's for starters. I also think a lot of people would consider, and this is where I think your bias changed a little bit too. You're kind of small town Ohio, and I think people from Indiana, there's a lot more rural Indians, right? And you look at Ohio and you think about Cincy and Columbus and Cleveland and Lake Erie. Like it's just a different. Seems like a more
Dayton,
big city.
Hello.
I almost said Dayton, but I was like, Dayton ain't
the big city of Dayton.
Big, huge metropolis.
We're a big old city down here in southern Dayton.
Yeah, but no, I think people see Ohio as more of like a city slicker state.
Yeah.
And Indiana's more of like a grassroots basketball racing cars.
I
So
could see that, and I feel like Ohio's more football than basketball. Like we have some really good high school basketball
got some high
programs.
school dynasties in football.
Yeah, but football, it's like kind of like Texas up here. But I mean, I don't know. Texas is like they got college type stadiums down there, but
Yeah, but
you
it's
know,
not far off. I mean, it's as
not.
far as like if you do a per capita, I think Ohio State's more impressive than Texas because Texas has got the
True.
size, they got the population, but Ohio is right there as far as producing talent.
And then like the drop off between like Ohio State and Ohio, like the universities.
Wait a second, we're having an inception moment here.
Hello.
The Boiler Express podcast is commenting on the Boiler Express podcast.
Who
Dylan,
are
the layout
you?
looks sick. Is this Dylan commenting?
No, I'm
comments
hands-free,
of Dylan so that Dylan can then
hands-free,
comment on
homie.
the
Straight up hands-free, not me. It's probably if I had to guess, it's probably Dame Dog or
Well, Frank
No,
could be doing international. He might have access
it's
to it. You
definitely
can't-
not Chris because Chris would have called me a mean name, I feel like, but in a loving way. Yeah, Frank. Where's Frank?
Especially when I heard you call me more handsome than him.
Yeah, that's true. That's gonna have to answer that later. Where is Frank?
It was Amsterdam, wasn't it?
Amsterdam? Yeah, maybe that was it.
The-
Frank is Anthony Bourdain in most ways. He's been to more countries than I've ever even thought about. I have not been out of the. I haven't been out of the country yet. I just realized that, and I'm almost 30. I gotta change that. I don't even have a passport. Do you have a passport?
I have one. It's out of date though.
Did you were you stationed somewhere crazy?
No, San Diego.
Oh, well,
But when they don't have to, when you're in the military, they don't ask for a passport.
well, I know. I know
Yeah.
you don't need a passport. Like I'm our nation's heroes.
Right.
Thank you for your service, by the way, Russ.
Recognize.
Marines. God, if I would have said anything
Oh.
other, if I'd been like Air Force,
It's just off screen there. The
Yeah.
Marine flag there.
this is your stack of pillows. Why do you have so many pillows?
You think I have them? I'm married, dog.
Oh, that's true. See, single me now has I think 3 pillows on my bed right now. It's
I'm
just
missing those days.
oh, it's so nice. And a king size bed, and I got it all to myself, dog. Oh, it's perfect. Anyway, I like when we get a little when we talk like life on the podcast sometimes. It's a nice little change up. And when we fit in, yeah, it was Damon. I called it. What's up, Dame Dog? I don't think I've ever called him Dame Dog in our years of friendship, but here we are. But I like when we get a little personal.
You're getting sidetracked talking about how we get sidetracked, and you like us getting sidetracked.
Yeah, I like getting sidetracked. What do we off the rails? That's what we always used to say all the time. We're really good at going off the rails. But yeah, so we were talking about Oscar Clough from South Dakota State, home of Adam Vinatieri, allegedly. Damon, fact check that me. What?
Fact check that me. Wow. I think you've been talking to he's not used to this monologue, folks.
No,
Dylan is not a monologue here.
it's been a month since we've done a podcast. There's gonna be some oopsies going around.
There be gonna oopsies.
We're gonna be oopsieing. Oof, as the kids say. I have a student that anytime any of us messes up or another kid does something stupid, he goes oof, and it makes me so mad. It makes me he is a little meme machine. Like the other day, one of my students made fun of me for balding, and I said, "I hope you're bald in 20 years, and I get to make fun of you." And the same kid goes, "Emotional damage," and I'm like, "Why? You are on the internet too much. You need to stop. You need to go touch some grass." That kid interrupts class. Only bro, it's been like half a season since we've gone live. Yeah, but look at Russ and I holding down the fort. I mean, listen, not all heroes wear capes, but Russ and I do. If we were a superhero duo, Jesus words. If
You
we
can hand
were
it off any time, dog.
yeah, if we were superhero duo, what would our names be? I'd be like super old and sort of young. kind of young, really old. Kind of young, kind of old. I don't know. I'm getting off. You're not even the oldest one on the podcast. I don't know if people realize that.
No.
Isn't Chris? Chris is the oldest one.
I believe Chris is. Yeah.
And I'm the baby. And then
Yeah, he's born in like 03, y'all. So
03. Mother 96, baby. Class of 96 of birth. Graduated in 15, high school. Now I'm going back to college, baby. Toot toot. No, I'm not going to Purdue. They don't want me in an educational way.
Hey, Purdue Global.
That is
Take
true.
Ohio State guys.
I don't know if they have teaching degrees. I'll have to look at that. No, I think Chris said they did.
First of all, if you're in teaching, you know darn well you don't need a teaching degree to teach. You could have a degree in whatever, and they'll be like, "You got a college degree? Let's go, come teach."
That's true. That's how bad they need teachers. I'll get a.
I mean, when I was in school, half the teachers didn't have teaching degrees, but
well, that was
insert villain
1902.
joke. Yeah, there we go.
I mean, you didn't even need license to drive either, but anyway, so Oscar Clough commits to Purdue and Matt Painter. Apparently, the word on the Twitter streets is that Matt Painter paid a little moolah. He's making it rain, as the kids say. Apparently. Well,
so here's my hot take. I don't care if he is or not.
Yeah.
I don't care if he is or not. Who cares why? This is proof positive that we can get dudes that are national names, that are highly ranked nationally, not just recruit wise now, but also transfer portal. I don't care whether it's the money that got him here. I don't care whether it's the championship contender that we're going to have going in next year. If it's because he loves Painter as a coach, loves the fan base, he loves West Lafayette, whatever. I don't care what it is. This is proof that we can get dudes that we need to fill a need in our team. I think, yeah, obviously the money had probably something to do with it. It's a factor. He's going to get paid when he comes. But it's one of those things where, and Painter's talked about it, you're going to get paid in college basketball now. If you're a D1 guy, you're a Power 5 guy, you're going to get paid no matter what. Now, would you rather go make, 2-3 mil at this place that they're going to feature you? You might be middle of the conference. Hopefully you make a tourney, or do you want to take a little pay cut? It's almost like pro sports. It is pro sports now, right? Like, do you want to be on a super team, take a pay cut, be a part of something bigger, or do you want to be the dude and you don't care about winning? And I think Painter had a conversation and said, look, this is what we can get you money-wise. Obviously, it's better than South Dakota State. At least I would hope it is. But this is what our team did this year. These are our big needs, right? Look, we have needs of rebounding, post defense, and toughness. Well, let's see. You're the number one most efficient defensive rebounder in the country, the number 2 most efficient offensive rebounder in the country, and you're a block machine. You made Alabama friggin' eat your lunch, or you ate their lunch, however you want to say it.
You made
Alabama eat your lunch. You say eat my lunch. That's an alpha move right there. No, no, like he literally said, look, we've got the pieces, right? We've got 2 Big Ten all first team guys. We've got the returning Big Ten player of the year. We've got a guy that's a top 5 most of his career. A lot of times he's been 1 or 2 in 3-point percentages. We've got 2 great freshmen coming back. We got Slam Heidi. Like, what we need is a big dude that can get rebounds and can be a post presence when TKR isn't on the floor, or can help TKR to stay out of foul trouble when he's on the floor. So I think that was part of the conversation. I think that may be more important than anything, is the fact that, Painter's won 5 of the last 10 Big Ten championships, knows what he's doing, has made 6 last Sweet 16s, 6 to 8. So he goes, yeah, you know what you're doing. And then I wonder if Brantley was in the room. Brantley's like, hey, I don't know if you've seen my track record, but, TKR, Zach Edey, Isaac Haas, AJ Hammonds, Caleb Swanigan, Trayvon Williams, like Matt Harms, like all these dudes. You wanted me to do that for you? Like, what? I got you. So,
no, I Brantley, like, I hope Paint doesn't retire for another 30 years, but like, I hope Brantley is also like next. You know what I mean? Kind of like how Paint was with Katie, sort of, kind of.
Yeah, but Brantley's like Paint's age, so he can't really be it'd be weird for him to be a successor.
Is he really?
Yeah, they both played in the 90s.
Well, black don't crack. People forget that. Listen, we all know us Caucasians don't age as nicely as some others. Look,
especially when you get big. Yeah, I can age not as bad if I weighed 50 pounds less, like I should. But
I need to lose so much weight. It's ridiculous. I'm a little too thickums. But yeah, no, I like Brantley a lot, and I think he's really good for recruiting, and especially Clough stands what, 6'11". See, yes. If I was 6'11", I'm rounding that to 7 foot. I have a friend that's.
But what if he's 6'10", rounding it to 6'11"?
Listen, I have a friend that's 6'11", and I said, why don't you tell people you're 7 foot? Who is going to break out the tape measure? Now, granted, when you're a D1 athlete, there's a better chance, which he was. He played at Penn State. Shout out Brandon. That they will break out a tape measure of sorts to see how tall you are. But like, it's like, you know how many football players lie about their size on their bios? Like it. Why not? I don't know. I never like if I were 6'11", I'm 6'2". Sometimes I say I'm 6'3". I'm just kidding. No, I don't. Sometimes I'm like, I'm 6'5", and the third graders I work with, they're like, we believe it because you're giant. But no, like you're 7 foot and you tell people you're 6'10".
Yeah.
You did surprise me when I first met you. I was surprised with your height.
Yeah, Boiler Dowd and I, we're like opposite camera angles, right? He uses a camera angle, makes him look taller, and I apparently am just not. I'm not the graphics guy. I'm not the digital guy. I don't know how to do that stuff, so I make myself look short. Apparently.
We, when I met, was it no?
Thanks, pops. Appreciate it. We're sounding good tonight. Love you too, by the way. Saw that earlier.
Is that your? Oh my gosh, we got Nick Burris.
Nick Burris, what's up, man?
Back in the streets.
Are you panicking because Colvin's gone?
Yeah.
Or he's still panicking thinking Braden's gone? Or what is it, Harris? Who
He's
is it you were telling Chris you think's gone?
I don't know.
Throw in the comments there.
Yeah.
But so with the Clough thing, right? Not just what are your thoughts on him, but do you think we get anybody else? We were talking about that a little bit in our own group chat, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like if we keep everybody and with how it is projected to look, I think Clough, TKR, and I'm drawing a blank on the third one.
What's that? Clough, TKR, and who? Jacobson? You're about
maybe Jay, maybe was
Biggs or
yeah. I mean, that's going to be like pretty deep, and that's pretty exciting because we need some depth. Because I feel like this year our depth wasn't like all there, just because TKR would be on the bench for like a minute and a half, and then have to come back out, and then you had Braden, who I don't think missed a minute during the entire tournament. Did he? No.
He did not. Played 120 minutes.
Yeah, and that's wild. Nick says we're getting a 6'6" shooting guard.
But why? Why, Nick?
Yeah,
why? Because like I went through it, like we already got 11 dudes, right? That need minutes or maybe looking for minutes next year. So we're gonna add somebody else. Like I really want to see what Cam Heide does with 20 minutes a game or more. And he hasn't been able to do that because he and Miles kind of split those minutes, right? So I think Cam can be that support role that we've thought we needed, and not to mention Harris and Cox are going to get better, right? They're only going to get better, and somehow I knew no matter how I said that it was going to trigger something.
Not as bad as Frank though,
but no, like Jakari and CJ, is that better?
Yeah.
Jakari and CJ, they really did a lot better job of getting comfortable shooting, trying to find their own shot. If you have them kind of rotating the guard spot with Braden, which Braden's going to play obviously 38, 40 minutes anyways. So you've got them kind of helping out the 2 spot. You've got Fletch and Cam kind of in that 3 role. And then you've got Jacobson, Clough, and TKR in that 4 or 5 role. And then Burgess could get, a minute or 2 here or there. I don't know where. And plus you got Antoine West coming in, and you got Jack Benner, who redshirted, who I think he's a pretty good guy. I don't know, maybe he turns into another Waddell where he just can't get the minutes because it's so log jammed in front of him in the depth chart. But I don't see where we're going to convince somebody to come in and make a contribution as a wing or as a shooting guard.
I mean, that's why you got to recruit. I mean, they should hire Russ as a recruiter. Just saying. I think you'd be a good salesman. You could throw some pitches out there to some parents and be like, listen, when I played with John Wooden, okay, I coached John Wooden.
Those baskets they first played basketball in? Yeah, I made those.
Them apple buckets, them apple, what are they? They're not buckets. What are they? Baskets. That's what I'm looking for.
Bushels.
Bushels. We all know you played on those apple baskets, and we thank you for your service. Nick Burris says we need a guy that's automatic.
I would argue that Cam Heide's 3 was pretty clutch.
Yeah, that was a pretty big deal. And it was quick. That was a quick release. He did not have much time to get that shot off.
I'm going to call right now. Bold prediction is Cam Heide's Big Ten 6th Man of the Year next year.
Oh, you love it.
I said our chat. I'll say it on here now. It's official.
Look, Russ putting his.
I told you TKR was going to be the guy this year, leading scorer, all Big Ten, first team.
Did you said book it, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Just want to make sure. This is a family program.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. He said book it. Okay. Which I know you did. You don't curse. You're not a big
I
cursor.
don't give a book.
I don't
What?
give a book. So next, I mean, I guess we could talk a little bit of football, maybe the aura, as the kids are saying nowadays, that Coach Odom is bringing to the program. I'm feeling
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little like Jeff Brom vibe from Odom, just in the way that like so I when I compare him to Walters, Walters was a little showy. You know, he had a little the Twitter videos of him, bebopping the music or whatever. You're not going to get that from Coach Odom, I don't think. I think he's a more of a business guy, more of a, don't talk, play, don't talk, succeed on the field. And I think that's what reminds me of like a Brahm style. And I like what I'm seeing out of practice. Just the energy. And I know, I said that about Walters too. And I did. I liked Walters' energy to start. It didn't work. His style just did not work. 1-11 did not work. Shout out Indiana State. But I feel like Odom is bringing a lot more grit, a lot more toughness, a lot more Big Ten style, just football. I have a feeling we're going to get a lot more grit, nose to the grindstone type deals. I'm really excited to see what he does with Maccabee. That's honest to God the only returner I can think of that's still at Purdue is Devin. God love him to death. So happy he's still here. Other than that, I can't think of another roster guy on roster for the football team.
All right. So here's where I took some notes. Right.
Yeah.
So first of all, I think you were starting to lean that way, and I want to throw this in there, and I know you'll like this.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he's got a little Tiller in him. I think it's Braum with like a little bit of Tiller.
I like it.
Right. I think it's Braum with like a little bit of let's play football and a little bit of Joe Tiller, old school. Like if you've heard some of these guys talk, like Devin Maccabee got interviewed in one of these spring practices, and he was out of breath giving the interview, talking about how you go from one thing to the next. And there's been several players talk about how there's no standing room time. There's no like you're constantly going one drill, and it's just nonstop. Like, and Maccabee said, this is some of the most intense practices they've ever had there. It's right into one thing, and it's all about getting experience through that, right? Like you're always doing you're only getting improved by doing, right? Like that's the best teacher is by actually getting out there and doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what they're doing. These practices they are not messing around. They're no joke. And I think that's a little bit of Tiller, a little bit old school. Like, what are you doing standing around? What are you doing jogging? Don't be walking from station to station. Don't be walking from drill to drill. Don't be, you're running, you're moving everywhere you go. You're doing something. But I'm going to ask you some questions here, just because, I know we had more of a skies falling feeling a few months ago, especially after all the guys entered the portal. So, do you know how many players we took in last year, going into last season? The season we were hyping up that Walters, it's year 2. The schedule does look a little rough, but we'll at least make a bowl game. And we had how many players coming in that were new between transfers and recruits?
I think I want to say like 15
total between transfers and recruits going into last year.
27.
Higher.
32.
45.
Jiminy.
We had 45 new guys on campus. You know how many we have going into this season so far?
A lot.
Higher or lower?
Higher than 40?
Than last year. Than
higher. It's got to be higher.
One less, 44.
Really?
Yes. So as much as everybody's freaking out about the turnover because we lost our coach and now you lose everybody and you just have a full roster turnover, and Maccabee's the only guy I can think of that's coming back, all that attitude. And you're not alone. I'm not trying to like
guilty
mock you, no pun intended. But another question for you. So our 2 deep, right? There's like 50-something guys on our 2 deep. I know that the math doesn't math there because there's a few spots they had 3 guys, and so I'm counting them in this 2 deep. But of those like 50 or so guys, I think it was 54, 18 of them graduated, right? So there's 36 guys that had a year of eligibility left or more. How many of those 36 guys you think came back?
22.
There you see, you're starting to get the trend here a little bit. It's 16, a little bit lower than that, 16. So you say Mockabee, but Jaheim Merriweather, I know we talked about, we thought he transferred. He's still listed on the roster on the school site. He's still listed on, I checked our lads for a projected depth chart. He's still on there. Denylon Morissette, that name ring a bell? He had a receiving touchdown every one of the first 3 games, and he's somebody that incoming transfer quarterback Malachi Singleton has mentioned as one of the guys he's looking forward to throwing to. Along with Morissette, 2 of the other 3 guys he mentioned were wide receiver Armand Branch, who was on the 2 deep last year. He's coming back. Tight end George Burren, I think is how you pronounce his name, who had his coming out party 2 seasons ago against IU, right? He had a touchdown against IU in that season closing win before they did what they did to us last year. So you've got them coming back. You've got 3 linemen, Joey Tonona, Jaden Ball, Bakine Coley.
Nailed it.
No idea if I'm saying that right. Right tackle, Bakyne, last name Coly. So
yeah, your guess is as good as
so that's the 8 on offense. On defense, CJ Madden, right?
Yep.
Mo Omanode. He's still on the roster. Trey Smith, defensive lineman. D'Amico Kennedy, Jamarian Harkless, Jamarius Dinkins, Winston Berglund, Hudson Miller, all those guys. So we got 8 guys on both sides of the ball coming back.
It's pretty good.
So, and I know that we're saying, well, they're coming back from 1-11 team. I give you that, but it's not like we're getting all new pieces. We're not. I mean, we are. It's about half and half, but that's the same thing we dealt with last year. So I don't want to hear excuses, and it doesn't sound like Odom is making any excuses. He's like, if it's year 1, it's year 15. Our goal is to go in and win. It's not to go 1-11. It's not to just try our hardest. Like our goal is to win.
Yep. No, I like that. You made me feel better, and I appreciate that. I don't know. I like what I'm seeing out of there. I think Odom's a good fit. I think he's got that Purdue type of way. Nick says, I'm so excited to win 3 games max and our team be 300% better than last year. I don't know. Every year I'm like 6 wins in a bowl. That's all I need to make me feel better. But you can only go up from 1-11. I mean, you could go 0-12, but we got some easy ones to begin the season on. So maybe we can get 2 wins. Anything better than 1. I don't know. Do you have high expectations going into the next season, or what are you thinking?
Man, I feel similar to last year, which my expectations or my desire for last year's team was not really even going to a bowl game. Like I did make some crazy, comments and say, here's our path to 8 wins, 9 wins, 10 wins, whatever, which was obviously not what happened. Not what happened. But I want to see, and what I wanted to see last year was just a team that competes, a team that gives you a watchable product.
Yeah. And
instead we got like the historically worst product we've ever had in the history of our program.
Real bad.
132-7 combined against IU and Notre Dame. I mean, that's video game. I can't do those numbers in a video game. Like,
especially when you play
can't. Yeah. Yeah, so worked up, couldn't even say his name.
No, let's see. I know a Kurt, I know a Kirk, and then it's a lot.
But yeah, I mean, let's see. I'm trying to pull up the schedule here. I think Southern Illinois is one of the first 2. Of course, it's I'm having trouble pulling things up here because it's technology.
Well, the internet at the nursing homes are pretty slow.
Oh, yeah. So Ball State, Southern Illinois. So it should be 2-0, no question. We lose one of those, yeah, I'm worried, even though it's year 1, game 1, game 2, whatever. But you look at Illinois Northwestern last year, those are games we probably should have won. If we had some better clock managed at the end, we had a little better discipline, didn't have the penalty issues we had, we're possibly winning both those games. So Illinois Northwestern still on the schedule. That's possibly 4 wins, right? We get Rutgers at home, which I don't think is going to be a very good ball club next year. We got Indiana, which it's a rivalry game. I know they spanked us last year, but he's got to turn that roster completely over and try to prove he can do it again.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm not saying I see a bowl game at all, but I'm not seeing just the 2 wins. I might be 3 wins, 4 wins, kind of like Nick, but I'm not disappointed if that's the case, because we still do have to go to South Bend to play Notre Dame. We get to host USC. which is, obviously a national top product.
Mm.
Got to go to Minnesota. Got to go to Michigan. We got Ohio State again on the schedule, and we got to go all the way out to Washington. So yeah, it's another tough schedule next year. But man, if some dude from James Madison School for the Blind can come up to IU and do what they did last year, I trust that a guy that won back-to-back 10-win seasons at UNLV can come in and make some magic happen. So
listen, this year, next year rather, this year, next year, whatever. If Odom had the same schedule that Signetti at IU had last year, I mean, that schedule was weak. And not to make excuses for Purdue's poor efforts, but like our schedule was rough. It was way harder than IU's. IU's schedule. And then you look and see what happened when they played ranked teams. They didn't beat a ranked team last year, not a one of them. And then they make it to the playoff and then lose to Notre Dame. Is there pride in making the playoff? Absolutely. We haven't been there yet, but hopefully one day we will be. So like I give IU a little bit of credit, but I also think they caught lightning in a bottle and kind of, I won't say get lucky, but maybe good timing on getting a new coach and he bringing in all these transfers. And then you have the year that they had and good for him. But man, I kind of went off on IU Twitter the other day because one guy.
No, you did?
Yeah, I do it too often.
Not Dylan.
And I was like, you guys haven't been relevant in so long and you have one good season. And they're historically the worst program in college football history. They have one good season. And now they think they're Alabama and that Sig is the next Nick Saban.
And that's not an exaggeration. That's not April Fool's. They literally have more losses than any other program.
Yeah, that's a fact that they're historically and statistically nailed it. The worst program in CFB history. And that's not something that we use just to make fun of them. That's a fact. And then you want to get into basketball too. Like, come on, they've gone through how many coaches in the last 10 years? 3, 4, 10, 32? I don't know. But you know how many Purdue has gone on with Purdue basketball coaches in the last 40? 2. And 2 of the all-time greats. So I don't know. I think IU fans sit on their high horse a little too often. And hey, if Switcherooski, okay, Purdue had the year IU had last year, I'd be talking mad crap too. And I'd be going bananas. But if it were Purdue, we have the history that IU doesn't have in football. And we have the seasons where we have won a Big Ten championship, where we have had crazy cool years and experiences and big wins and blah, blah, blah. Purdue football history is much more successful than Indiana's. So therefore, if we were to have the year they had, we'd have a little something to back it up. They ain't got nothing to back it up.
And the way that they handled last year,
yeah,
and are still kind of handling it, that if they drop back to reality, when they drop back, it's going to be a hard slap back.
It's going to
be.
They're going to bite dust. They're going to.
I mean, you win. I mean, I think we're similarly old school in this way, Dylan. That if you win, you got the right to talk smack.
Yeah,
you backed it up. You did. But it's going to come back to bite you if and when you fall down to reality. It's going to come back to bite you.
And and it's not just because I hate IU with a burning passion, because I do, but I just Signetti coming in and saying Purdue sucks fine. Like our fans say it every kickoff, and I think it's stupid. But especially when we have 1-11 year, and they had the year they had, and our student section's going, IU sucks. Stop it. Okay, just stop it. Anyway, when they had the year they had, and they all of a sudden think they run the Big Ten. They had the year they had, and they still didn't even smell the Big Ten championship game. And they're still not even the third, fourth best team in the Big Ten conference right now, because you got Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State made it to the playoff. They make it to the second round. Oregon. Yeah. Well, yeah. Sometimes I forget about the Pac-12 teams, but they're not even the fourth or fifth best team in the conference, and they made it to. So, like, I think, yeah, sure, you had a great year. Congratulations. However, take a deep breath, because stuff's going to get real quick. And you're going to have a fall from grace, and the entire conference, not just Purdue fans, but the entire conference and probably a lot of the CFB landscape are going to dance on your grave a little bit. And we know how IU fans take that, and we know how well they do with a little smack talk. But they sent me the screenshots, 66-0. Yeah, I didn't even watch that game. I think I watched like the first 10 minutes and I saw what was going to happen. I'm like, I'm not even going to put myself through this. And again, they would have to beat Purdue over 30 straight years to even tie the series. We lead the series in basketball and football. The arrogance that IU fans walk around with nothing to back it up but some asbestos-filled banners that they weren't even alive to see being put up in the rafters is beyond me. And I know you're talking about us again. You guys talk about us too. It's a rivalry. Of course we're going to talk about each other. And I'm going on a rant here. But when they say, oh, Purdue fans always talk about us, you always talk about us. Michigan fans always talk about Ohio State fans and vice versa. It's a rivalry. You're going to talk about each other year round. It's just how these things work, especially in college athletics. So that's my little IU rant that I didn't expect to go on tonight, but here we are. But no, I think I hope we take the bucket back next year. That would be cool. I think, if anything, I'm really interested to see Cignetti's second year and how it works. Because, hell, he could be a very good coach. I could very well have another great year in his second year. But you really think, say Cignetti puts together 3 really good years, there's a high chance that somebody is going to pick him up. You don't think an SEC fan? He has 3
He's not
years.
going to make it 3 really good years.
I know, but I'm saying hypothetically.
I'm saying if he makes it 2 years, if he repeats it or gets close to this year, he'll be gone after this year. He ain't making 3 good years at IU.
No. And that's my other thing. Like, you're not going to keep, and same with Purdue. Like, if Odom has 3 really good years, like, it wouldn't surprise me if somebody picked him up. Because then you look at Jeff, you look at Brom, I'll call him Jeff, like we're on a first name basis. Brom left for Louisville, but like, that's a totally different. You don't see the situation Brom was in very often, where your alumnus calls you after the second time when you didn't take the job, and of course he's going to take it.
So the one thing I'll say, refuting you a little bit on there, is Cignetti's the kind of guy that he's rising the ranks, right?
Yep.
Like, he's rising up to this is his first Power 5 job.
Yep.
Who knows if he wants to keep moving up? Odom's been there, right? He was head coach at Missouri, been on the staff at Arkansas, went the UNLV route. I think he understands more the landscape of college football, and I think he's a little bit older than Cignetti, and I think he understands. I've kind of made my money, right? Like, I've made my money. I've made a career of this. Do I want to keep hopping job to job? And if I go to I'm not saying Michigan's going to hire a new coach soon, but if I go to a Michigan or an Alabama or Georgia, or a high-profile school that expects to compete and win 9-10 games every year, do I want to go take another job like that? And if I have 1 or 2 bad years, then I've got to look for another job and then another job and work. I think if Odom starts to find success at Purdue, I think he doesn't really go anywhere. Because let's be real, he's probably going to come to Purdue and we're going to go win, undefeated every year, right? So, like, the ceiling for us is being a top 6, top 7 team in the Big Ten. Well, we've already proved that we'll get the money out of the coffers to pay somebody like that and pay that kind of money that, top 20, top 25 coaches in America. And so I think Odom's more likely to stick around with some success than what Cignetti is at IU.
By the way, Cignetti is 15 years older than Odom. But you got to remember, Cignetti dyes his hair.
Yeah, like, he uses the same stuff that old boy there in Columbus does.
Ryan Day, yeah. And the fact that the OHIO pod guys refute the fact that, and by the way, Eric, I don't know if you saw this a few weeks ago, probably about a month or so ago, after Ohio State won the Natty, he dyed his beard black. And so I'm like, are you finally accepting the fact that Ryan Day dyes his beard? Because no one at that age, he's probably like in his 40s, has a jet black beard. It just doesn't happen. It's not a thing. I'm even starting to get some grays there in the chin quadrant of my beard.
I'm not going to have enough hair to see if it's gray or not.
Yeah, that's why I won't take my hat off. Rest. My students grill me. They've realized that I'm going bald back yonder, and they call me Mr. Clean. And these kids are
it's kind of a compliment, though. I mean, as far as bald men go there,
Mr. Clean's pretty jacked. So is your boy. No, I'm just playing. But Russ, I think we had a good little podcast tonight. I thoroughly enjoyed the Russ and Dylan show.
If nothing else, I hope that little conversation about the Purdue football roster, puts minds at ease a little bit.
Yeah,
like it did yours. So
yeah, no, it really did. It really helped me. I'm going to sleep better tonight because of that. Thank you, Russ.
Hey,
do I owe you a therapy bill or?
We'll talk after the pod. We'll settle up somehow.
Dr. Russ, like the new Dr. Phil. By the way, okay, speaking of Dr. Phil mustaches, Barry Odom, Joe Tiller mustache, Barry needs a mustache.
Brom didn't have a mustache.
Brom didn't, but Danny Hope, incredible mustache. Joe Tiller, the best mustache.
Brock's back.
Incredible mustache. Yep. And I don't think he still dyes his. It's dark, but maybe he does. He may. Now that I think about it, he may. There's a new thing I've realized that where college football coaches dye their facial hair. That's kind of odd. But no, Barry Odom, since you're watching, I know you are. Grow a solid mustache. If he's watching this, something's wrong. Because both our viewers.
He's trying to figure out what one of his coaches is doing. Who's this Coach DK guy?
Coach DK. Every time
on our own coaching staff.
Well, so the offensive coordinator doesn't even retweet it. Takes a screenshot of my tweet, circles the caption where it had the what's his name with the mullet, the backwards hat, and the Oakley shades, and I was like, Purdue football's back. And he retweeted it, and I had 3 kids in my DMs being like, "Hey, Coach DK, here's my film, here's my huddle, here's my stats," and I'm like, "I'm not, but I'm sorry." And so now my Twitter, I need to change it because then it's really become a problem. But it says Coach DK with an asterisk, and then my bio says asterisk, not a coach.
Which is actually going to fool more people now that it actually says coach in your bio. It's probably going to.
Yeah, I know that's why I put the asterisk. But that's a Michigan thing.
We got our guy Chef Andre Napier, K-State guy. He's going to go murder me here in college football here in a minute. So
how's that going? Who's winning that? Who's Kent winning?
Kent's in the semifinals. Our silent partner Nick is on to the semifinals.
Producer Nick.
And then who's the last guy? I think Tennessee. Who's a friend of Andre? He's in the semifinals, I believe.
Andre Pixar didn't happen with that mustache. Okay, my mustache is weak for whatever reason. Doesn't grow in the middle. I don't know why.
But you got anything else, Dylan, or are we gonna get on to this?
Yeah, no. It looks like you have a date with Andre to get your butt kicked, so that's kind of cool. Yeah. What's the rankings? What are you ranked?
I think I'm 5th, and he's 4th. But I technically got a bye because I won my conference. But that's because I keep getting weak conference opponents. Whoever had Miami was I pretty much won the conference every year.
Who was that?
Oh, yeah. Wasn't that you?
Nope, don't think so.
Okay, all right.
Anyway, I was Texas. No, I took a couple jobs.
Yeah, you just didn't recruit, and so you just hopped.
Yeah, I just jumped jobs and just so happened to get the best recruiting class.
By the way, somehow Miami is still in the playoff this year. So even though they had no freshmen, yeah, I don't know how they do.
Am I still technically the coach of Miami?
Negative. No.
I retired.
Yes.
Maybe I'll make a comeback. You never know. All right, ladies and gents, it was good to be back. Not April Fools. We're here, and Russ, we made it to an hour.
We did.
That's pretty impressive.
We're not gonna play the whole videos, but thanks Martin Vintage. Thanks Blitz Boards. Thanks CBB Analytics. Appreciate y'all.
I got this shirt. I mean, it's bad timing from the Shop Indie. And it's got the script on the back.
There you go.
And I got the script.
Dylan is a big fan of the script. That's one thing.
As you can tell, I'm wearing it and it's on my backdrop now. I love the script. I'm actually working with the guy that 3D prints mini helmets to get the white script helmet. So that'd be pretty cool. But anyway, do you want to try and make it to exactly an hour or just go now? We rounded it. Just
no, we're gonna tease it. We're just gonna stop short of an hour.
All right, cool. Yeah. All right, well, thank you everybody for tuning in. It's good to be back. I think we'll be back next week. I think we may get 2 weeks in a row.
Starting an off-season flow going.
Yeah. I think we're gonna have some guests coming up. I'm gonna try and get maybe Stu back on the show and Drew Brees and Drew Brees is never gonna touch the show.
Let's get Roquan Colvin on here.
Yeah, let's see how that goes. Yeah, perfect timing. Wonder how he'd respond to that DM. Anyway,
Mm.
ladies and gentlemen, it's good to be back. Good to be back in the saddle. No, the Boiler Express podcast is not dead. We are very much alive. So, ladies and gentlemen, boiler up, hammer down, hail Purdue.